Did you know octopuses have 3 hearts? That's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to bizarre facts from around the world. You know those people who try to sound smart at parties by dropping random trivia? Yeah, well, buckle up Buttercup, because after this video, you'll be the one dropping jaws with your knowledge. But here's the thing, learning doesn't have to be boring. In fact, it's a hell of a lot more fun when you're laughing your butt off. So, get ready to have your mind blown, your funny bone tickled, and your social calendar booked solid, because we're about to dive headfirst into a pool of the most surprising, hilarious, and downright unbelievable facts you've ever heard. You might even call it a fact-finding mission. Alright, let's start with a real heart-stopper, literally. Octopuses, those 8-legged brainiacs of the sea, have not 1, not 2, but 3 hearts pumping away inside them. You'd think with all that cardiovascular real estate they'd be winning marathons, but no, they use that extra pumping power for something far more important: camouflage. See, 2 of those hearts are dedicated to pumping blood through the gills, for breathing and all that jazz. But the 3rd heart, that's the real MVP. It pumps blood to the rest of the body, making sure our 8-armed friend has enough juice for all those impressive color changes and camouflage tricks. Now here's the kicker, when an octopus swims, that 3rd heart actually stops beating. Talk about taking a break. This means they get tired pretty easily, which is probably why they prefer to crawl around on the ocean floor. Napoleon Bonaparte, the emperor, the legend, the guy who probably had a complex about his height, was once attacked by bunnies. Yes, you heard that right, fluffy, adorable, cotton-tailed bunnies. Picture this. Napoleon, fresh off a military victory, feeling pretty good about himself, decides to celebrate with a little rabbit hunt. So, he's got his generals, his finest men, and a whole lot of rabbits gathered for this grand event. Someone releases the bunnies, expecting a glorious display of Napoleonic hunting prowess. But then, something unexpected happens. The bunnies, instead of hopping away in fear, charge straight at Napoleon and his men. Apparently, someone had the bright idea to gather up a bunch of domesticated rabbits thinking they'd be easier targets. Big mistake. These weren't your average everyday bunnies. These were bunnies on a mission. Hopped up on, well, probably just carrots, but still. Needless to say, the hunt was a complete disaster, and I'm pretty sure Napoleon avoided bunnies for the rest of his life. Okay, time for a fruit salad of knowledge. Get ready to have your world turned upside down, because we're about to drop a truth bomb bigger than a pineapple. Are you ready for this? Bananas? Are berries? I know, mind blown, right? You're probably thinking, but berries have seeds on the outside, bananas have those weird little black things inside? Well, here's the thing. Those weird little black things are actually the seeds. They're just really, really underdeveloped. See, bananas are what's called parthenocarpic, which is a fancy way of saying they don't need to be pollinated to produce fruit. Now, let's talk about strawberries, because they're the real imposters in the fruit world. Despite their name, strawberries aren't actually berries at all. They're what's known as aggregate fruits, meaning they're formed from a single flower with multiple ovaries. So there you have it, bananas are berries, strawberries aren't, and the world is a confusing and delicious place. Move over, dolphins, there's a new best friend in town, and they moo. That's right, we're talking about cows. Turns out those gentle giants grazing in the fields are actually quite the social butterflies. They form strong bonds with each other, and yes, they even have best friends. Scientists have found that cows show signs of stress and anxiety when they're separated from their besties. They're also more likely to explore new environments and try new things when they're with their pals. Basically, they're just like us, but with udders. And get this, cows even have their own unique way of communicating with each other. They use a combination of moos, grunts, and body language to express their emotions and share information. So next time you see a herd of cows, don't just think about burgers and milkshakes. Remember, they're intelligent, emotional creatures with complex social lives. Hold on to your chariots, folks, because this next fact is going to warp your sense of time. Cleopatra, the last active ruler of ancient Egypt, famous for her beauty, her intelligence, and her pet asp, lived closer in time to the moon landing than to the construction of the Great Pyramid of Giza. I'll say that again. Cleopatra was closer to Neil Armstrong taking one small step for man than she was to the building of one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. It's enough to make your head spin like a hieroglyphic. We tend to think of ancient Egypt as this incredibly distant period, lost to the mists of time, but in reality Cleopatra lived a lot closer to our time than we might imagine. To put things into perspective, the Great Pyramid of Giza was completed around 2560 BC. Cleopatra lived from 69 to 30 BC. Do the math and you'll see that Cleopatra lived about 400 years closer to the moon landing than to the construction of the Great Pyramid. Let's talk about honey, that golden nectar that's been satisfying sweet tooths since the dawn of time. But honey isn't just delicious, it's practically immortal. That's right, honey never spoils. You could find a jar of honey buried in a pharaoh's tomb, and it would still be good to eat. Okay, maybe not the most appetizing thought, but you get the point. The secret to honey's longevity lies in its chemistry. It's incredibly low in water content, which makes it an inhospitable environment for bacteria and other microorganisms that cause spoilage. Honey is also acidic, which further inhibits the growth of anything that might try to set up shop in your jar. But that's not all. Honey also contains natural preservatives in the form of enzymes added by our buzzing buddies, the bees. These enzymes produce hydrogen peroxide, a powerful antibacterial agent that helps keep the honey fresh and delicious for centuries to come. So, next time you drizzle some honey on your toast, take a moment to appreciate the incredible science behind this sweet treat. Get ready for an overload of cuteness because we're about to talk about sea otters, the cuddliest creatures in the ocean. Not only are they ridiculously adorable with their fluffy fur and playful antics, but they're also incredibly romantic. Why? Because sea otters hold hands while they sleep. I know, right? It's enough to melt even the coldest, deadest heart, looking at you, Thanos. But it's not just about romance, although that's definitely a bonus. Sea otters hold hands for a very practical reason: to avoid drifting apart in their sleep. See, they spend most of their lives in the water, floating on their backs while they eat, sleep, and groom their luxurious fur. And speaking of eating, sea otters have a bit of a reputation as the ultimate foodies of the ocean. They have an incredibly high metabolism and need to eat about 25% of their body weight every single day. That's like a 200-pound person eating 50 pounds of food. And their favorite food? Shellfish, of course. They're also incredibly resourceful, using tools like rocks to crack open their shellfish snacks. Wars, they're not exactly known for their brevity, are they? But sometimes, just sometimes, a conflict comes along that's so short-lived, so utterly bizarre, that it makes you wonder if someone accidentally hit the fast-forward button on history. Enter the Anglo-Zanzibar War of 1896, the shortest war in recorded history, clocking in at a whopping 38 minutes. That's right, you could have made a cup of tea, watched an episode of your favorite sitcom, and this war would have been over before the opening credits finished. Exactly happened. Well, it all went down in Zanzibar, an island off the coast of East Africa. The Sultan of Zanzibar had just kicked the bucket, and his nephew, Khalid bin Bargash, decided he wanted the throne. Problem was, the British, who had their own ideas about who should be in charge, weren't too keen on Khalid's power grab. They gave him an ultimatum: step down or face the consequences. Khalid, perhaps feeling a little overconfident, chose option 2. Bad move, Khalid, bad move. At precisely 9 a.m. on August 27, 1896, the British Navy unleashed its fury upon the Zanzibari royal palace. By 9:38 a.m., the palace was a smoldering ruin, Khalid was on the run, and the war was over. Ever gone to the beach, scooped up a handful of sand and thought, wow, there are a lot of grains of sand here? Of course you have. We've all been there. But get this, there are more stars in the observable universe than grains of sand on all the beaches on Earth. Let that sink in for a moment. It's a number so large, so incomprehensibly vast, that it makes your brain want to throw in the towel and go back to watching cat videos. We're talking billions upon billions of stars, each one potentially orbited by its own planets, moons, and maybe even some alien life forms playing cosmic frisbee. It's enough to make you feel incredibly insignificant, and yet strangely, also incredibly connected to something much, much larger than ourselves. It's awe-inspiring, it's humbling, and it definitely makes you rethink that whole "I'm having a bad day" thing, doesn't it? Just when you thought you'd heard it all, the universe throws another curveball our way. Scientists are discovering new species all the time. It's like the planet is hosting a never-ending surprise party, and we're the guests who keep getting surprised by the guests. From glow-in-the-dark mushrooms to fish that walk on land, it seems like there's no end to the weird and wonderful creatures that share our planet. There are still vast areas of the ocean depths unexplored, rainforests teeming with undiscovered life, and even our own backyards hold hidden wonders just waiting to be found. Think about it. While you're watching this video, some intrepid scientist is probably knee-deep in a swamp, face to face with a creature no one has ever seen before. So there you have it, folks. A whirlwind tour of some of the most surprising, hilarious, and downright unbelievable facts from around the world. And the best part is, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Scientists and researchers are constantly uncovering even stranger, more mind-blowing facts about our planet and the universe we live in. The world is a vast and endlessly fascinating place, and the more we learn about it, the more we realize how much we don't know. So keep that sense of wonder alive. Stay curious, keep asking questions, and never stop exploring the world around you. And most importantly, don't forget to laugh along the way.